Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 Million New Homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft and by Mount Anvil and by Pitman Tozer Architects. Every month I'm visiting a different council to ask them what works and what needs to change to get more homes built. This month I'm in Westminster. So I'm here at Westminster City Council with some more of the development talent that the council has at its disposal. Guys, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your roles?
Yep, so I'm Nithushan. I'm the Assistant Development Manager within the Development Regeneration team at Westminster. I've been with the council for just over a year now, and I've been working on a number of projects. I've got Ebury, which is a massive flagship project for the council. We just delivered phase 1 back end of last year, and we're mobilising phase 2, getting the designs finalised before construction by the end of the year. And then I'm also supporting my colleague here, John, with Hodkinson House, which is the council's first retrofit project. Excited to be here and talking about my role.
Thank you.
John.
So hello everyone, I'm John Ndukuba. I am a development manager at Westminster City Council. I've been at Westminster for just over 8 years, so it's been quite a long time. Moved over from City West Homes, the Almore Housing Association, to Westminster. So I'm currently working on the same project as Nithushan, Hodkinson House, a retrofit scheme, and also Ebury, which just recently finished phase 1 at the back end of December. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work across numerous schemes. My first scheme that I worked on or supported with at that time was Dudley House. So that involved delivery of residential units as well as a school, which is nearby to here. So yeah, excited for this opportunity.
Tell us about your route into all of this, John. How do you come to be doing what you're doing?
Well, so I studied a Master's of Civil Engineering at university. When I did my placement year, I did it for a oil and gas firm called Subsea 7. So it was quite different to what I was doing in Sutton.
Where
yes.
I live. Yeah,
just by there.
Yeah.
So it was quite different to my degree. And my role during that year was it was very admin focused, but I had the opportunity to work with people day in, day out. And that was probably the aspect of the role that I enjoyed the most. So when I came back into engineering to finish my final year and then my master's, I already had it in mind that I wanted to go towards a career venture that was more focused on working with people, getting the best out of one another. So fortunately, I had a course in project management during my master's, which I found very interesting. And then, after that, that's really what kind of triggered it in my mind. And then after I finished my degree, I was dead set on, I want to try project management. Went for many interviews. I remember at one stage, my mum was telling me, just go for a civil engineering degree. Job will be way easier for you. But I stuck to it, and thankfully, I got my first job at the council 8 years ago, and I'm still here now, which is a good sign.
And that's great testament to their wisdom in taking you on as well, that longevity that you've given them 8 years back. Nithushan, your route in was a bit different, wasn't it?
Yeah. I took a slightly unconventional pathway into sort of development management. So straight after uni, I did a program called the Emergent Talent Program, which is run by the Future of London, which is a built environment network. I didn't really have sort of experience or a background in construction, development management. I had a keen interest in it. Being from London, you see change happening everywhere, and I wanted to be part of that sort of vision. Being able to sort of make tangible changes within your community was a big thing for me. So this program opened up, which is a 15-month program, which led to so many opportunities of working for public and private sector organisations in all realms of like built environment, development management, construction. So before this, I was at Southern Housing and was part of their construction team, and then a placement opened up here at Westminster, came along here, and then you finished the program, and then a role opened up, and I've been here since. So,
how did you get on that initial Future of London program? What did you email them? Did you see something on a website?
Yeah, so it was quite a new program at the time. I think it's the second year when I joined. So I think it was trialing things out. There wasn't that many organisations signed up to it at the time, but the way I got into it is after uni, I did go into sort of a comms role. I comms in loads of different areas of not development, but one area we did was consultations for a regeneration scheme, and that opened up an interest for me. I was like, oh, this is really good, like you're engaging with communities in the design of the project. So I went to an event after, and I met someone that was on the programme, told me about it, and then ever since sort of signed up to it, did the interview, the assessment centre. It was a really well put together programme. It's a short amount of time to learn about a new whole industry in itself, and whilst the job requires a lot of technical knowledge, you sort of with experience learn a lot about what you're doing, and
you're learning on the job.
Exactly. I'm at the early stages of my career, and so every day is a learning day for me, and so it's been great.
So John, what do you enjoy most about the role as a development manager? What is it that you get the most out of?
So I think now being a development manager, you get the opportunity to directly line manage people as well. So I have the opportunity to line manage Nithushan and also another colleague. And so there's that aspect of seeing their growth, which is always really good to see. But there's also the aspect of you yourself improving, because as a manager, it's very easy to always give feedback, areas to improve. But it's also, where can I be better as a manager? Because we're all, every day, we can make mistakes. It's how we improve from them and get better. In terms of
is Nithushan, is he providing a lot of critical response to you?
Less so now, less so now. But no, everything's been really good with us since he's come over from the future of London. But I think also it's the stages within the project that are really enjoyable, from when it's literally just sketches at the beginning, or even when you're going before that and you're walking around and the team are assessing to see if this site is even feasible or not. And then it starts going onto a piece of paper with the early sketches and everything. And then it just continues to go from there. And when you then get the opportunity to speak to the local residents as well, it then really brings it home, makes it real. And because some of them will be very happy with the proposals. They'll be like, yes, crack on, get on with it, etc. And then there'll be some less happy, but you have to be able to listen to both sides. And that's when you kind of hit that reminder, you are directly impacting on people's lives. And sometimes you can't take that for granted. Because you then think, if this was at my doorstep, I would want my thoughts and opinions to be considered. And so it's about trying to adopt that approach and having a fine balance with also what the requirements that the council still has to meet.
And what do you think are the most important skills that you have in the job that you do?
I think one for sure is organisation. I think it's very, very important to be organised as a as a development manager, because you can be working on multiple projects at the same time. And so naturally with that, there's so many different work streams that you have to be aware of, knowing how to prioritize, etc. I think also the ability to know how to delegate is very important, because there are some work streams that are better off being led and carried out by maybe another member of your team, another department within the council. So it's how making sure you don't take everything on your shoulders. But okay, this work stream should be managed by this person. I'll obviously touch in, check base, everything is going on track, but don't take everything on board. So organisation and delegation, I would say, are probably two of the top skills for sure, because aspects around leadership, they're really important, but naturally tend to come the more experience you get on the job.
Fair enough, Nithushan, we've heard a bit about what's great about being a development manager. What's the toughest aspect of the role? What do you find hardest?
I think with development management, you're working on schemes. Every scheme has its own challenge. You're working for a public authority, you've got loads of sort of processes that you need to follow. You've got governance, you've got procurement. You need to make sure you're following all these processes, and making sure you're doing the due diligence, consulting the right people at the right time. So yeah, it's making sure that you are sort of on top of that, making sure you're. I guess at times you're not doing things half done. You're seeing the process through, and usually you'll find if you haven't sort of finished something, that will plan out in the project delivery, and it becomes an issue later down the line. And obviously in development management, you're managing risks all the time, and you're finding some small issues at first, but if you take your foot off it, it becomes snowballs and becomes a bigger issue down the line.
So there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
Oh, definitely. And it's you're making sure that you're working with the right teams. And I think as working in this role, so sometimes you overlook the end goal, which is whatever the purpose of if you've got residents moving in, remember who you're building this for, the long-term operation of the building. So yeah, making sure the right teams like housing, corporate property, if they have an interest in it, they're involved as early as the project starts, really. And I think that's the biggest sort of challenge. But yeah, there's ways that you can definitely get around that and make sure, with everything is collaboration and making sure you are sort of consulting, communicating every step of the way.
And is that something that you had as a skill already? Is that something you brought to the job, or is that something you've learned?
Well, I guess with communication, that's sort of like with life, experiences, you're being able to talk to people. It comes down to that, really, at the end of the day.
So this is a role and an environment for someone who is quite outgoing, quite gregarious and communicative, someone who wants to work in a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, being able to collaborate, being able to work with other people, different teams, that might have different interests to yourself, your team priorities, and being able to find the balance whenever you're trying to achieve something is the biggest thing. But
So what's your advice to someone who's out there, who's maybe at uni now thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do when I leave uni? What would your advice be to them?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've got, a very similar sort of story in terms of, coming out of uni. I didn't really know what I was going to do. Didn't really have, construction development management wasn't something I ever considered, really. But I think you just have to try things out. I think you don't know until you know, and so you need to put yourself out there in terms of if you're working for the council, if that's something you want to do, be open to the idea of working in loads other teams other than development, because everything's all linked together at the end of the day. So once you work on a project, so like housing, you're dealing with actual people that moving in, but then it all relates back to what we're trying to achieve here. So be open, going into something that might not be what
you end up doing.
And then things change, and Westminster project management, it wasn't something that I considered even on the programme. It was only till I got to the placement I realised actually this is something I'm really enjoying. It's a very varied role, being versatile, being resilient, because obviously the projects development projects especially, is something could happen tomorrow, and being able to be resilient. And
something like a president of America introducing trade tariffs,
exactly, and that
impacts the construction industry, which impacts what you're trying to deliver.
Exactly, and just being able to understand what's happening around in the world, like the tariffs and stuff like that, because that all has an effect on what we do at the end of the day.
John, similar question to you, but someone who's decided to go into development management, what would your advice be to them on how to progress that career?
So I would say, first of all, I think as Nithushan kind of touched on, you have to open yourself up to learning and growing. I think there's so many different variety of skills within project management, communication, as Nithushan touched on, organisation, leadership, etc. And when we start, very, very few of us have all of those attributes. Perhaps maybe only one to two. So I think you have to understand that it takes time, but you have to hold yourself accountable to wanting to improve. A big thing in project management is accountability, and it's not being scared of that, because the more accountable you are to yourself, then naturally more responsibility that's going to be entrusted upon you, because with accountability, you want to deliver things to a high standard, which means people can see that you can perform. And so the more responsibility, naturally, the more we all want to grow within the ladder. That's everyone's ambition. And so it's about taking that accountability to, I want to improve for myself first, so I can achieve the best, and then naturally things in itself will just go from there.
John, Nithushan, thank you very much for your contribution to getting 1.5 million new homes built.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And that just about wraps it up for another episode of 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Redloft, by Mount Anvil, and by Pitman Tozer Architects. We're going to be back in a few days with more from Westminster, but until then, if you could hit like and subscribe, we'd be really grateful, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for watching.